After last season, the NBA draft, and the craziest night in NBA history that was the opening of this year's free agency that saw the entire league get flipped upside down, a lot of these things have all left a lot of players having something still left to prove. Whether it's injuries that have held a player or their perceived potential back, players not getting the opportunity to play like themselves, or players just flat out not playing as good as expected, means that these 17 players have a lot to prove this upcoming season. And the first is Michael Porter Jr. Since his senior season in high school, 6'10" Michael Porter Jr. was talked about as being a potential first overall pick in the 2018 NBA draft. But after he injured his back and required surgery in his first college game, teams weren't ready to take a risk on him, and even though he was thought of as possibly the most skilled player in the draft, he fell back to the 14th pick by the Nuggets. And the plan was for him to miss his entire rookie season to let him recover, which he did. But now he's feeling healthy, and after 2 years off of basketball, he's gonna have to prove to the Nuggets and every fan and media member out there that he can live up to his pre-injury potential, and prove to the 12 teams that passed on him that they all made an all-time big mistake. And speaking of players who have something to prove based on where they were drafted, the obvious one from this year's draft is Bol Bol for pretty much the same reason that he may be injury prone. And big props to the Nuggets for taking the risk on both of these guys when no one else would. Now, it is surprising that Porter still went 14th overall without any college and after a back surgery, and Bol dropped all the way to the second round just because of his dad's past with injuries, his foot injury, and his tall and skinny frame, even though he looked like one of the most impressive players in the draft this year. And there's no doubt about that, and the fact that if he can stay healthy, he's a freak of nature that I fully believe can be an elite level NBA player. But staying healthy is going to be the thing that he's got to prove to everybody. And then while we're on this year's draft, freaks of nature and guys who may run into injury, Tacko Fall's the other guy with something to prove since he went undrafted. And all Tacko has to do this season is prove that he can make an impact on an NBA team, so he can get a longer term contract. And I got faith in him. He's tied for the tallest NBA player ever right now at 7'7", 300 pounds, and broke every figure in the NBA Combine database for height, wingspan, and reach. And while the man's no doubt a freak of nature, the main issue with him is going to be getting his skill set to an NBA level. And that's the problem with most players his height: the coordination, conditioning, and ability to get to that level. But Tacko's actually got a good foundation for all of those things. And I mean, he held his own against Zion and Duke earlier this year in the NCAA tournament. He won't ever be a Yao Ming, but he's definitely got a starting center's potential when healthy. And then I was going to include Mo Bamba in this video since Nikola Vucevic was supposed to leave the Magic and let Mo start to show what he could really do. But since for some awful reason they re-signed him, that won't be the case. But a young guy that will get their own opportunity this year is Terry Rozier, who made it clear after this season that he wanted to be a starting point guard in this league, and according to Kyrie Irving, he is one. And according to himself, he was sacrificing a lot coming off the bench this year. And there's a lot of room to believe it because of what he was able to do in late 2017 and 18 and in the 2018 playoffs. And now that he's on the Hornets, he's going to get to show us what he's got. I mean, he's probably not too happy about going to Charlotte of all places, the one team who's had a good point guard all this time and was never able to do anything with him, but he got paid and he's a starter, so he couldn't really have asked for much more. But while we're speaking of former Celtics players, we should mention current Celtics players Gordon Hayward and Jason Tatum. And the fact that Gordon Hayward may be getting paid by the Boston Celtics, but his 2 years there has hurt his reputation more than anything. The first year he of course got injured, and then this year he's had to come off the bench behind Jason Tatum all year long. And there's a good chance that the same thing happens all year this year. So I think that they might be better off finding a trade for him, because it's not worth paying a guy $30 million a year to give you 10 a game. But whether he gets traded or not, for him personally, he needs to prove that he just had a bad year. And then with Jason Tatum, last year Kyrie stunted his growth, and this year I was hoping that he'd be on his own as the star of the team so he could hopefully break out. But since the Celtics got Kemba, that changes things. I do think that Tatum and Walker can work a lot better though, because I feel like he'll be much more willing to give up the ball and let Tatum become a star. Plus, since Horford's gone, it does hurt the team, but it gives Jason more room to improve and live up to the hype that everyone set for him. Kyrie Irving wasn't a good fit in Boston, but hopefully for him this season will be a different story. In 2020 and 2021, KD will most likely be healthy and playing for the Nets. But for now, going into this season, Kyrie's just gone from being the best player on a young team with potential to currently being the best player on a young team with potential. Usually when you put a player in the same position, you'll get the same outcome. But we'll have to wait and see if Kyrie can do any better this year and learn from his big leadership mistakes. And then there's D'Angelo Russell, and I gotta say, Russell getting traded to the Warriors is just weird to think about and was completely unexpected for everyone. Now I'm thinking that they just got him in the sign and trade so they could trade him down the line for another star, but we'll see. If he does stay long enough to play with the team though, he could play shooting guard while Klay's out and even be a 6-man once he returns, since they'll be needing the help off the bench after giving up Iguodala. But whether they end up trading him or not, D'Angelo Russell has still got something to prove, because that's 2 teams now that have given up on him too early. And I get that it would have been dumb for the Nets to keep him instead of going for Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, so it's not their fault. But from D'Angelo's perspective, he needs to come out and make the Lakers and Nets have more regrets than ever this upcoming season. A player who's on the opposite side of things though, and is still yet to be moved this offseason, even though he should be, is Kevin Love. For some reason, as of right now, he's still on the Cavs, but the point is that the man was a star on the Timberwolves, and we thought that the only reason he stopped putting up those monster numbers was because he joined LeBron and Kyrie on the Cavs. Kyrie left and his numbers stayed the same, and then LeBron left and for the first 20 games of last season, before going down with an injury, his numbers still stayed the same. And I don't think we'll ever be seeing the Timberwolves Kevin Love again, and I don't know what it was that made him that much better, but if he ever is going to get back to that level, this upcoming season is his time to do it. Then Kristaps Porzingis was another player who dealt with injuries all of last season and hasn't played basketball since February of 2018. Now he should be back to start this season with the Mavs on his max contract, and this year he needs to show them that he's worth it. The man's really got the potential to be a league MVP one day if he stays healthy. But before that, to start, he's got to show that he can not only stay healthy, but come out and play even better than he was before he tore his ACL. DeMarcus Cousins also has to prove himself post-injury. Since free agency has started, rumors have been going around that there isn't really a market for Cousins. With this being the second time this is happening, wherever he lands, he's got a ton of people to prove wrong. And Isaiah Thomas is really in the same boat. I mean, here we go again with him. For the 3rd season in a row, we're saying Isaiah Thomas still has something to prove. A lot of people have already given up on him, but he still fully believes he's not done, recently coming out and saying, "I'm going to get back to the level that I was playing at," and that he's excited to show what he can do again. It's tough though, because he's been fighting this hip injury for so long now, and we don't know if he's actually finally fully recovered or if he ever will be. But this season is his very last chance to prove himself. And with him signing with the Wizards, where he'll hopefully get to start until John Wall comes back, he may very well be getting that chance. We all hope the Celtics IT can return, but we'll have to wait and see. James Harden, on the other hand, is in a completely opposite situation. He was the runner-up for MVP, and while looking at James Harden's numbers from last year on paper, it's hard to believe that he still has anything left to prove. But it's the things that aren't on paper that matter. I talked about it before, and the fact that himself and the Rockets have to switch up their system to get his other teammates more involved in the game. And sure, people are going to say he averaged 6 assists a game last year and led the league a few years back, but driving to the basket and only passing when he gets doubled clearly doesn't work. It may be hard for him to switch things up if the Rockets don't make any changes to their team though, which isn't looking too promising at this point. And then there's Nerlens Noel, who desperately needs to make a big time impact of his own next year and is starting to run out of time to do so. I've lost faith in him, but Steven Adams has been in trade talks recently for OKC. So if Adams does get moved, that could open up some more minutes and an opportunity for Nerlens. Hassan Whiteside also has to have a big year. He just finally got traded to the Blazers, and at first I didn't think this was a great move for Portland, but it essentially replaces Myers Leonard with Hassan as their backup, which is a huge improvement. And then from Whiteside's perspective, anything was really an improvement of how he was getting used in Miami. His stock has plummeted in recent years, so he needs to come out huge for Portland, and as their backup show that he can still be great in this league, and that the Heat just gave up on him too soon. And I think the Blazers system really is the perfect team for him to do so. A couple of guys who aren't in as much of a rush is the former Lakers young core. I mean, after everything they've been through, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and even Josh Hart are in the perfect position to show LA that they made a mistake. I mean, having AD is better than having those 3 guys on the team right now, but you get the point. Zion and these 3 guys are the core of that team. and there's no master plan going on in the background for a quick rebuild in New Orleans like there was while these guys were playing in LA, because these guys and their futures are the master plan. So they need to come out and show the Pelicans that they got a great trade and make the Lakers have regrets in trading them years down the line. And then finally there's Joel Embiid. And Embiid has been one of the best players in the league, so he really doesn't have too much more to prove. But after being sent off the court in tears, he needs to come back as a better player with a fire under him to make the finals this coming season. He needs to make it clear that he used this very moment as motivation to become a better player, a better leader, a better defender, and to show that he really takes his game and his work ethic seriously. I mean, right now the 76ers are the team that's looking most likely to win the championship next season after signing Horford and trading for Josh Richardson, but whether they can get there and to that next level fully relies on Embiid stepping up. And that's gonna wrap up the video. As you can tell, there's a lot of players with something to prove, and all of these trades and signings have really changed everything. And as more moves continue to happen, I'll be making more and more videos. So stay tuned for that by liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I'll catch you next video.